Coach Stephanie White of the Indiana Fever goes on the Good Follow podcast and talks about Caitlin Clark's development, her techs for next season, at least like what she wants them to be, and a lot more of the Indiana Fever. So Indiana Fever head coach goes on the Good Follow podcast, and the most interesting part to me that stood out was how she sees Caitlin Clark developing and how she can get better for next season, because she gets into the technicals of it. She mentions maybe Caitlin developing a Euro, which at that point it had hit me that I have never thought about Caitlin Clark doing a Euro. But you know what? I have to call this out because I think it was maybe 2 months ago, I made a video about how Caitlin Clark could get better. I mentioned her developing a better left hand. I mentioned a lot of the things that she does is predictable, and there was a little bit of backlash to that video. Not a lot, but there was definitely some where a lot of people were saying Caitlin Clark never really needed a left hand before. But the reason I was saying this is because she is the number one scouted, at the top of the scouting reports for all the teams. So she needs to change it up. And I mentioned that in the previous video. So in watching Stephanie White talk about Caitlin Clark's development, it was very fascinating to get her take on it as an actual coach. Let's take a listen to what she said.
We already know that Caitlin has put on some strength and muscle. She had that viral picture.
Yeah, you saw that, yeah. I asked her if it was Photoshopped.
She said it was AI.
It was not AI, but you know, from somebody that does work in post, if you kind of shift up the contrast a lot, it really like pumps up like what you're seeing. Not that she didn't pump up, but you know, it just kind of accentuates it.
What aspects of her game would you like to work with her on for this season?
Yeah, I mean, certainly getting stronger was one. You know, the level of physicality in the W is totally different. You know, that's the way that teams have to try to keep her off balance, keeping her low center of gravity. You know, there are times where she plays a little bit upright, making sure core strength and her ability to move with time under tension and stay in a low center of gravity is important. You know, lateral movement, like one of the challenges that we're coming to her with right away is on the defensive end of the floor. No, you know, use your size, use your length. You've got to that's got to be a priority, right? That's got to be a priority to play both ends, because we don't have to go from, you know, 11 or 12 to 1 or 2, but we got to get to middle of the pack. You know, I think from just a straight basketball perspective, making sure that we help her diversify you know, her finishing ability, diversify in the way that it's not predictable, to be able to.
Exactly, because she is great and she is phenomenal, but at this level, you know, she has leveled up since college, obviously, and this is like the cream of the crop. They are going to catch on to the idea that she doesn't like to drive left. She always wants to drive right because she's right hand dominated. And when she does her step backs, she likes to step back and go left. So I did see in some of her workout videos the practicing of her developing a left hand. I saw her stepping right. So these are all great things to be developing for an already elite player.
To be able to be equal in terms of production and facilitation, going right and left, to be able to have different types of finishing looks, whether it's, you know, crossbody finishes, whether it's floaters at the rim, whether it's quick floaters, long floaters, you know, Euros. You can't quite be as fundamentally predictable with as much athleticism, speed, quickness, and as much as the game plan is going to be geared toward her. And then I think the challenge for us as coaches is how do we get a rest when she's on the floor while she's playing, right? Like while she's on the floor. And some of that's going to be playing off ball, utilize her as a screener, getting her.
So a lot of people are pushing back on having Caitlin Clark playing off ball because she is so elite at like measuring what's going on the floor. Her IQ is like beyond stratospheric levels, but that is very true because she's going to get burned out. So I think that, and you know, Caitlin Clark mentioned wanting to play off ball a little bit, but I think it's true that having her play off ball is going to give her a little bit of a rest, and that makes her game more sustainable. Like she doesn't burn out as much.
getting her into action on the third and fourth side instead of the first and second, where it's easy to game plan against. How we use her to help everybody else be better off the ball. We know how great she is with the ball in her hands. Mm-hmm. We're not going to take that away, but we've got to be able to diversify a bit in how we use her. So from those kind of challenges as well. I mean, we've got like a short-term kind of list and we got a long-term kind of list, but Caitlin, I remember from the very first day when we were working on balance and we were working on footwork and we were looking at all those things, from day 1 to day 2, she had it.
Wow.
Like she's a perfectionist and she wants it and she's going to work on it. So that long list might get shorter every day we're in practice.
Another part of the list too takes a look at Aaliyah Boston, because that 2 player.
And maybe we'll get into Aaliyah Boston in another video. I just did a video yesterday about her workout with Natasha Howard, Bree Turner, and my takeaway was, the highlight about Aaliyah Boston is how she's able to get in and really body other defenders. But I would love to see her work on her footwork a lot, her just her lateral movements, how she can lengthen. She loves to do a little floater, kind of pop it up a little bit. She's great at the at the pick and rolls. Not as often at the pick and pops, because she does not have the best 3-point shot right now, and that is something that Steph White did talk about wanting to develop in Aaliyah Boston in this interview, but we can go into that in another time if you want. Let me know if you want me to do a video on that or not. But yeah, so this all sounds really to me, it makes perfect sense. I mean, let me just show you what I said a few months ago. And one of the things that I noticed that she would definitely benefit from in her career is developing a left hand. Left-handed layup, left-handed shot-making ability. So we have had an entire season to get to know Cece's game, and she is an elite shooter. With some of her more notable and scoutable moves is that when she goes and she steps back, she loves to go left. And then when she's driving into the paint, trying to get a 2 or a layup, she does not like to drive left. She will drive right to avoid any possibility of using her left hand, because she is so right hand dominated. As a matter of fact, I have seen in multiple instances where she has had an open lane to drive left to the basket, but she will take the harder shot and go around and make it a lot harder for herself by driving right, very often getting blocked, but also very often making it, because she's such an elite shooter, such an elite player, that she can make these harder things at a higher clip. But listen, she's at the top of every team's scouting report. And eventually, when these patterns keep happening, teams are going to start scouting for them. And that's how they're going to start defending her. So she has to change it up. She has to expand on her game so that she keeps the defending team on their toes. And so I thought I'd go in and look at a bunch of analysis and look for examples of the things that I was noticing all of last season. And I found some really good ones. So let's go over them. So here's an example of Caitlin Clark getting stuffed, where if she had created some sort of left-handed, maybe hook shot, she could have created more space between her Alana Smith's block right there. Not saying that Alana Smith definitely wouldn't get the block, but if she's going up with her right, as she is just feeding it closer to Alana Smith's wingspan. So if I were Caitlin in this situation, I would have tried to create a lot more space, with a left hand hook shot, layup. I mean, maybe even a layup, but in this instance, it looks like a hook shot would have been better for the variability of making it in the basket. So these are just a couple of examples that I pulled. It took me a long time to make this video to try to pull those examples. And by the way, she has been working on this in the lab. There have been a lot of lab sessions since I made this video. So this is something that I think, and you heard Steph White, when she puts her mind to something, the next day she's kind of mastered it. And not to say that she's mastered everything yet, but these are things that are on the docket to make Caitlin Clark to just raise her level of game, to make her an even more elite player than she is now. But it's you can't do the same thing over and over because there are other amazing players that are going to be able to come up and block you. And if you are so inclined to check out like what my personal analysis on Caitlin Clark, just from having like watched a bunch of videos, watched her last season, I will put the link in the description, and there's a lot more examples and things like that that you can go through if you want to know. And you should watch the entire interview because it's always good to see what the plan is, what is going to be happening, and it gives us an idea of what to expect for the next season for the Indiana Fever. So let me know how you felt about the interview, and I've been like gearing up, kind of like thinking about what to do in this next season coming up that would like benefit you guys. And I was thinking that after Fever games, especially some of the other ones, that we could maybe go live like right afterwards to kind of just like vent or air out or like celebrate or whatever our feelings on the game for about 30 minutes. I don't know if that is something that you guys would be interested in, if it's too late in the evening, if I should wait till the next day to go live and maybe like come back with you guys. But I really do want to do this idea just to go live, just to kind of have like an idea, like, you know, to connect with you guys. And there is a chat in the live that you guys can, you know, like write out questions to. I can answer them. And if you are a member, you get these things called super chats, which are chats that I would put up on the screen and directly like respond to. So let me know again if that's something that you're interested in. I'm trying to get a little bit of feedback, and I'm going to do my own thing anyway, but I thought I'd like just get your input if you're so inclined to give it to me. But we are less than a month away from the season, and I could not be more excited. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'd say my excitement level is a 22.